Hey everyone, this is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. Well, I can't believe that we're into February already, and even though we are all shoveling out from the gigantic snowstorm that we just had, we are getting well within the range of our spring market now. In fact, some people may say that the spring market never stopped starting about 3 years ago. But we are traditionally getting to that time period now where people are going to start listing their homes, buyers are starting to come out of the woodwork, and there's going to be a mad dash for the next several months for buyers and sellers out there in the marketplace. We're also coming up on Valentine's Day, and I thought, since this is going to be our Valentine's Day episode, I thought, how can we show the love? How can we show the love to our buyers and sellers? And I wanted to break it down into 3 stages of how we can show our love during the process of buying or selling a home. So the first stage would be the pre-buying or selling period. Stage 2 would be during the process itself, when you're under contract, both buying and selling. And then stage 3, lastly, is post-settlement or after settlement. What can we do to show the love for our buyers and sellers in order to make them our clients for life? And just to give you an example of what I mean, the inspiration for this episode actually came to me in a conversation that I had with a client recently who has sold multiple properties with me in Pennsylvania, but owns an investment property down the shore. And he went on to tell me that he was going to be selling that investment property. And I said, hey, I got a great agent down there. I can get the ball rolling. I can have him reach out to you, and he would do a great job for you. And he said, you know what? I appreciate that, but that's okay. I have a guy down there that I'm extremely loyal to. And I said, well, if you don't mind me asking, what makes you so loyal to your guy down the shore? And he said, well, it just stems from one episode that I had a long time ago where I had a leak in a shower head in one of my bathrooms down there. I couldn't get down there. I live a couple hours away. And I was telling my agent this, and my agent said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll head over there. I will change out the shower head free of charge. I just want to make sure that the property's okay and nothing is damaged. So he did that for my client, and my client has been extremely loyal ever since then, just by this small gesture that this agent made by changing out the shower head free of charge. It just showed that he cared. And from that point forward, my guy has not used anybody else down the shore but this person, and will not in the future. And that exemplifies what I mean by showing the love to our buyers and sellers. So let's get into it. Stage 1. The pre-buying or selling phase of the transaction. This may be when you first meet your clients on the buying side or the selling side for that matter. Let's start with the buying side. On the buying side, if we're going with the theme of how do we show our love, then I think the best way to communicate or try to show that love with buyers in this marketplace is by being honest and compassionate, because chances are they are going to go through this process, and with the amount of buyers that are in the marketplace that are putting in offers time and time again and striking out on these properties through no fault of their own or you or anybody else, it's just, if a better offer is out there, then a seller is inclined to take it. We have to show that honesty and compassion. So, number 1, I think we show our love to our buyers first and foremost, that when we have our initial buyer consultation with them, that we are honest about the marketplace. We are honest about the potential that there may be 10 to 15 offers on a property, and that they may need to go through the process 5 or 6 times before they actually get that house that they want. And we have to be honest about that. We also have to be honest about the fact that, in this marketplace, typically cash is going to be king, right? I always explain to my people and be honest about them that the cash deals are typically the ones that are considered first. Not always, not all the time. But I always explain it like a game of poker. If we were playing poker, if someone had a royal flush, well, that's going to beat all the other hands that are out there. The only thing that's going to beat a royal flush is potentially another royal flush. So the royal flush in this case is a cash offer in the marketplace. And since it may take a cash offer to win out on some of these properties, what can we do to show the love to our buyers when they're out there searching? Well, one thing that we can do is send a buyer letter out to neighborhoods that they are targeting in advance, and let them know that you're doing that. They appreciate the fact that you're going above and beyond trying to get them home. Also, we can enter them into buyer match and try and match them with properties out there with Fox and Roach ahead of time and try and forge a relationship that way. Anything that we can do, even if it's Facebook ads in reverse, right? Maybe you put a Facebook ad out there that simply states, hey, I have a buyer looking in your area and they are ready to go. They are pre-approved. They are, fantastic buyers, whatever you need to say. But you could put a Facebook ad out there and let them know that you're doing that as well. Show basically your compassion towards your buyers in this marketplace because it's very hectic out there, as we all know, and very competitive. One way that we can show our compassion also is if we are out in the field. We've become used to being out there showing properties again, during the COVID era. And maybe you have a new buyer that is not altogether very happy about going through somebody else's property with COVID. Maybe they have an autoimmune disorder. Maybe they, have other reasons for fearing COVID and being anxious about the whole process. So we can bring extra masks. We can bring hand sanitizer. We can bring things to kind of alleviate that fear to showings with them. We can also preview houses for them if they're not comfortable going out. We can FaceTime them through a property. All these things that we can do to kind of help and have compassion will win your buyers over and show them the love. The last thing I will say on the buying side, and I think this is really important in this environment that we're in when there's multiple offers on a property and how we can best position ourselves to win in this marketplace is when you present an offer, I think it's very underrated. Number one, make sure that you're showing the love to your buyers by reaching out to the listing agent and asking exactly what the seller wants. What's it going to take to win? Because sometimes it's not all about price. And I just went through this where an agent told me, I reached out, I said, hey, look, what can my buyers do to win out on this property? What does the seller want? And she was very savvy, and she said it's not all about price because we feel like we priced it right where it needs to be. And if it's way overpriced, if we get an offer way over the listing price, it's not going to appraise. So what else can you do? We want a quick settlement. We want an ease of transaction, which most sellers want right now. So when you're presenting your offer, make sure, number one, you find out what exactly the seller is looking for. But also when you write your email and you put your offer into an email. Number one, I think it's a good thing to do it as one PDF, right? Don't have all separate attachments and, you have a pre-approval over here or pre-qualification. You have the BFI over here and then the deposit money notice and then the agreement of sale and the seller's disclosure all in different attachments. Make it easy for the agent. Show that listing agent that you're the professional on the other side and you're going to make this transaction smooth because of the way that you operate. And also, make sure when you craft your message in that offer email, make sure that you put something to the effect that says, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we appreciate you considering our offer. We understand there may be multiple offers on this property. So to make things easier for you and your agent to understand, here are the finer points of the offer. And then go through the offer bullet point by bullet point with the important points of that offer. What's your offer price? What's the settlement date? What are the mortgage terms? What's the home inspection terms? Are there any terms that you are willing to concede on? Maybe you're willing to pick up part of the appraisal. Maybe you're willing to pay part of the transfer tax. Put that into the email that you send along with your offer. That will go a long way. Because in the end, what may make the biggest difference in this environment that we're working in is the listing agent wanting to work with another agent who they know is a true professional that will make the transaction as easy as possible for not only them, but for their seller and get to the finish line. And the way that you are perceived up front, like you're setting that expectation, here's what you are getting with me, will go a long way with that listing agent and may be the difference between getting that property or not getting that property. On the flip side of things, let's talk about sellers and getting the house ready for showings. The way that we show our love to our sellers may be, another important aspect of any relationship is listening and communication. And so on the selling side, I think that we have to listen and we have to communicate. So number one, the first thing that we can do is send out a pre-listing packet in this COVID environment. Make sure that you are sending them something ahead of time and send them something digitally. Don't send it, paperwork that they handle. Show them that you're ahead of the curve. Everything that you send out, make sure that you put into potentially a PDF or an interactive Moxie presentation and send out a pre-listing packet ahead of time. If you go into ACE, you will find a couple different sheets that you can use that I implement into my listing presentation. One is discovering the unique story about your property. The reason why I send this out is you want to get your sellers involved, right? You want to make them feel like they're part of the process. So get them answering questions about their own property. I think that goes a long way, not only with them, but with you. That helps you to understand your sellers. Number two, what's most important to you? You can find that sheet also in ACE. That's a bunch of different questions that are on a scale of from 1 to 10 that your sellers can answer about what's important to them throughout the transaction. Also, simple things like a utility sheet. Get them answering questions about utility. Get as much information from them as you can. That will help to show the love and make sure to show them that you are the professional heading out there, that you know what you're doing, you're taking the reins in this transaction, and you're listening to them on top of that. So when you do get out to the property, make sure that you take notes. I think that's a very simple concept, but that's really important. You want to make sure that your sellers know that you are listening and communicating with them. Also, showing the love in this environment, in this hectic, you may have 40 showings in a weekend on a property. You want to have a strategic plan. So one thing to think about with your sellers in this COVID era, maybe you just want to have one solid weekend of showings where you say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's what I think we should do strategically. We should start showings on a Thursday, go through Sunday, and then take offers on Monday or Tuesday. And that way, if you give me one weekend of your time, it's going to be pretty inconvenient for you for a weekend. But after that, hopefully we will have an offer for you. We will have an offer hopefully above asking for you, and we will maximize the time spent, this weekend with the hours put out for the showings. Lastly, one way that I go above and beyond for my sellers is to offer them basically one out of many services that they can choose from, almost like a menu in a diner, right? I will pay for one service that makes sense for us moving forward before we list the house, that will put us in the best position to sell the home for the highest price and in the shortest amount of time. That may be something like a home warranty, or maybe handyman services, maybe even paying for an appraisal or a cleaning service. It can also be a staging consult, things of that nature. If you give the seller one freebie, it shows that you are going above and beyond, that you are serious about this transaction, that you are going to do the best job for them in all cases. And I think that always helps my cause when I'm in a listing presentation. All right, if we move on to stage 2 here with our buyers and sellers, let's start on the buying side, and we're going to talk about, now we're under contract, right? And the first thing I think that we want to do to show the love for our buyers is buying a house in this marketplace can be extremely competitive, as we talked about. Well, let's share in the joy of going under contract with our clients, right? I had an offer that I put in recently. My clients had missed out on probably about 3 or 4 properties prior to this one. And the conversation with the listing agent, once they reviewed offers, started out in a very somber tone. The listing agent was very serious and very low key. And I thought for sure we weren't going to get the property. And then she said to me, "Congratulations, your clients got the home." And out of my excitement, I told the agent that I loved her. And it was pretty embarrassing. I had to backtrack and tell her that I loved her professionally. I was a very happily married man, and I meant professionally. So that was pretty funny. But I was sharing in the joy with my clients, right? I was genuinely excited for them. So why not, after we go under agreement, send a little note to your clients, maybe even pass along a little bottle of champagne for them to celebrate. Let them know that you're genuinely excited for them and show them the love. Number 2, throughout the process, you're going to need a bunch of people behind you. You are going to need contractors. You are going to need mortgage people. You are going to need title people. You want to make sure that your clients are well taken care of. So through the process, be sure to share good vendors that you can share that will help them to get to the finish line with as much ease as possible. The inspection process, make sure that you are honest and upfront with them, going back to the honesty of working with buyers, right? Show them and set the expectation. This is what you can expect, and let's move forward with this home inspection and make sure that we are clear-eyed about what the process is going to entail. So show the love by being honest and being genuinely excited for your clients. On the flip side of the transaction, let's get to the seller's portion. And how do we show our love again? Well, I think, again, it comes back to communication with your sellers. Number one, soon as you go under contract, maybe you send them a sheet or a PDF or an email that has all the important dates of the transaction, right? Let them know when the first deposit is due. Let them know what to expect during the home inspection process. How many days do they have to actually have the home inspection? And then where do we go from there? When is the appraiser going to come out to the property? What is the commitment date? You need to communicate and show the love to your sellers by letting them know everything that is going on through the transaction and let them into the process, right? Let them into the process that you're going through and making sure that they get to the finish line. Keep them up to date and keep them up to speed and get them involved in the process. They may also need different vendors from you. They may need somebody to, put in a chimney liner. They may need somebody to remediate radon. Let them know that you have people available there that are there to help. You have a team working behind you, and you are going to get to the finish line together. All right, lastly, let's talk about stage 3 in this process and how we show our love to our buyers and our sellers. And I think this is the kind of the fun part, right? Because this kind of blends together. If you have a buyer or a seller, you're going to settlement, obviously we want the buyer and seller to be happy. So let's talk about how we can make them happy both pre-settlement and post-settlement. So here's a couple ideas on how we can show the love to our clients and separate ourselves from the competition. One is, how many of you provide moving boxes to both buyers and sellers? I think that's an easy thing that we can do. It's cost effective. It doesn't cost us a lot, but it goes a long way in a buyer or a seller's mind, right? Let's get them some moving boxes. Let's make their life easier during the transition of moving into or out of their home. Another great idea is if your buyer is purchasing a home in the summertime, maybe you want to pay, as they're moving in, maybe you want to pay for a landscaping company to come out and potentially mow the grass for them. I think that's a small gesture, but it goes a long way, right? You're moving into the house. Let me make your life easier, and the grass will be cut for you, and the house will look great going into it. On the flip side of that is right now, if your clients are buying a house in the wintertime, I mean, obviously we know we just had a huge snowstorm. What if you pay for a plow to come out and plow the driveway for them as they're moving in? I think that would go a long way. Or you pay some neighborhood kids to go over and actually shovel their property. I think that would be just an awesome gesture for potential clients. We all know, according to the agreement of sale, that a property should be broom clean at the time of settlement, but some houses are cleaner than others, so sometimes it benefits you to pay for a cleaning service to go out for your clients. The last thing that they want to do when they move in is have to clean afterwards. So a cleaning service would be great for them. That's another gesture that you can do. And then the last example that I'll give on the buying side on how to show love after your buyers or seller purchase or sell a property is, now this is not in a COVID environment. I want to make that clear. But one of the coolest things that I have heard is about a month after the property settles and the buyers are moved in or the sellers are moved out, you actually pay to have a car service show up at their front door and then take them to a nearby restaurant, and you pay for their meal or what we can call a date night, right? You are paying for a date night for a buyer or a seller, and I guarantee you that they will never forget you for that gesture that you made for them. I think that would go a very long way with a client, and I think that's a really cool idea. But since we're in the COVID environment, maybe you just pay for, some takeout to show up at their front door. Buy them a couple meals while they're moving in. I think that would be a fantastic gesture as well. So it's not strictly, just buying a gift basket or a bottle of wine at settlement. This is stuff that you can go beyond what the typical agent does and really, really solidify that relationship moving forward. And the last thing that I'll say about, showing the love to our clients is don't forget about birthdays, right? Don't forget about their kids. Don't forget their kids' names. Make sure that you remember their home anniversary, and that involves having a good CRM, right? So show yourself some love and basically put that information into the CRM moving forward, and that will help to retain your clients and make sure that you get business, repeat business from your people time and time again moving forward. It's always about the little things. When we show the love in relationships in general, it's always the little things that can make or break a relationship, and that goes for real estate relationships as well. So make sure you show your clients some love this year. And also, if you have a great way that you show your love to a client that I am missing here, you can always email me at jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. You can find me all over social media as well. Give me a shout out. Let me know how you treat your clients special and show them the love, and I'll give you a shout out on our next podcast. Well, that's it for this week. We'll be back in another couple of weeks. We'll have a new guest, a new topic. And as always, if you want to hear something that I am missing, or you want something that's relevant to what's going on in your business nowadays, make sure that you reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. But until then, until next time, stay safe out there, stay selling, stay warm, and we'll catch you next time on the Everything Real Estate Podcast.